Welcome back to High Stakes. Elevate your betting game by hitting that subscribe button and never miss out on our daily content. Want exclusive access to premium betting picks? Join our Patreon. Links waiting for you in the comment section below. Stay ahead of the game with High Stakes. UAB versus Army. This matchup marks the first ever meeting between UAB and Army, and it's safe to say one team is way more excited about this than the other. On one side, you have the undefeated Black Knights, who have been steamrolling their competition. On the other, a winless UAB squad that's struggling on the road and staring down a nightmare scenario. The Blazers are giving up a staggering 45 points per game and a brutal 227 rushing yards per contest. Now they're up against the best rushing attack in college football, with Army racking up over 360 yards on the ground per game. This one could get ugly fast. Prediction: Army minus 26.5 points. This game is all about whether UAB can find a way, any way, to slow down Army's relentless ground game. But let's be real. The Black Knights are tallying over 4 rushing touchdowns per game and have put up more than 37 points in 4 of their 5 matchups this season. UAB's defense has been a sieve, allowing 30-plus points in 8 of their last 10 games. Army, meanwhile, is not only dominating on the ground, but also protecting the ball, with just 2 turnovers all year. Given these factors, expect plenty of points. UAB's last 10 games have hit the over in 6 of them, and Army's relentless rushing attack and efficient offense have seen the over cash in 5 of their last 10 games. Play it smart. Take the over 54.5 points. With Army running wild and UAB's defense crumbling, there's every reason to believe this will turn into a high-scoring affair. Keep it simple. This one's going over. Wisconsin versus Rutgers. Rutgers heads into this Saturday's showdown riding high after their last victory against Wisconsin, where they covered the spread in Madison. The Scarlet Knights have been a force at home, winning their last 2 games at SHI Stadium, both outright and ATS, against the spread. Just 2 weeks ago, they pulled off a gritty 21-18 victory over the Washington Huskies, and they've managed to either push or cover in 4 of their 5 games in 2024. Rutgers' defense has been lights out on home turf, holding opponents to 18 points or fewer in each of their 3 home games, setting the stage for the Badgers to face an uphill climb on Saturday. On the flip side, Wisconsin has been a disaster ATS, dropping 4 of their last 5 games. Their lone road trip this season ended in a 38-21 defeat, and their defense has been getting torched, giving up 38 or more points in 3 consecutive games. To make matters worse, they'll be without key starters, including QB Van Dyke and RB Malusi. All signs point to a long day for the Badgers in New Jersey, as Rutgers looks primed to control the tempo and walk away with a comfortable win. Pick: Rutgers minus 3 points. The Badgers have historically held the Scarlet Knights in check, keeping them to 17 points or fewer in their last 5 matchups, but this year feels different. Wisconsin's defense has been leaking points, and with Rutgers' impressive home form and lockdown defense, the Scarlet Knights are in a great position to cover the spread. Plus, they've been dominant ATS at home, covering their first 5 games last season and continuing that trend in 2024. Looking at the bigger picture, this game is likely to be a defensive struggle. Both teams rank well in defensive stats, limiting total yards and slowing down their opponents. Rutgers has held their 2024 home opponents to under 18 points in every game, while Wisconsin's offense sputtered in their lone road outing, managing just 180 passing yards and less than 20 minutes of possession. Add to that Wisconsin's recent trend of going under the total in 2 of their last 3 road games, and we've got all the ingredients for a low-scoring affair. Take the under 40 points. With both defenses playing well and Wisconsin's offense faltering on the road, points will be at a premium. Rutgers has kept things tight at home, going under in 2 of their 3 home games this season. Expect a grinded-out battle at SHI Stadium, where neither team is likely to light up the scoreboard. South Carolina versus Alabama. This will mark the 16th meeting between these 2 SEC powerhouses, but it's the first since Alabama's commanding 47-23 win back in 2019. South Carolina comes into this clash eager to secure their first victory against a ranked opponent, and with Sellers seemingly bouncing back from his sprained ankle last week, there's plenty of hope for the Gamecocks. Sellers scrambled for 55 yards in that outing, showing that his dual threat capability is very much a part of the game plan. And Alabama's defense better take note. They've been far from dominant against the run this season, allowing 128.6 yards per game, which is the third highest mark in the SEC. While duplicating Vandy's success on the ground from a week ago is no easy task, South Carolina might be able to exploit some holes in the Crimson Tide's defense with Sellers' versatility. Both teams sit at 3-2 ATS this season, but I'm leaning toward the Gamecocks to keep this one close. Alabama's been rolling, but South Carolina has the tools to keep it within the number. Pick South Carolina plus 21 points. This is an SEC showdown featuring two offenses that aren't shy about putting points on the board. Alabama, as usual, is a scoring machine, averaging 44.6 points per game, the 8th best in the nation, and they've dropped at least 35 points in every game this season, hitting the 41-plus mark 4 times. South Carolina, despite coming off their lowest offensive output of the season, has shown they can rack up points as well, scoring at least 23 points in all but one game and hitting 31 in 3 of those contests. But here's where it gets interesting. Alabama's defense has been leaking points lately. They've allowed 34 or more in their last 2 games, and while giving up 34 to Georgia might not raise eyebrows, the 40 they allowed to Vandy last week is definitely concerning. That opens the door for South Carolina to have a productive day on offense, especially with Sellers leading the charge. Alabama's last 3 games have all gone over the total, and South Carolina's hit the over in 2 of their last 3. Take the over 50.5 points. With both teams capable of moving the ball and Alabama's defense showing some vulnerability, we're in for a high-scoring SEC battle. Expect fireworks as these two offenses go head-to-head. Washington versus Iowa. Washington's defense has been lights out against the pass this season, allowing just 125 yards per game, good enough for 3rd in the nation. However, their Achilles heel has been stopping the run, and that's exactly where Iowa gains the upper hand in this Big Ten showdown. The Hawkeyes are the very definition of old-school, smash-mouth Big Ten football, pounding the rock for an impressive 223 rushing yards per game. They're not flashy, but they're relentless, wearing down defenses with every snap. It's the same blueprint Rutgers used to defeat Washington earlier in the season, and Iowa's about to roll out that same game plan. Washington's far from home turf, and making the trip to Iowa means facing a brutal, hostile environment where their offense might struggle to get going. Expect a physical battle, but when the dust settles, Iowa's toughness and ground game will prevail. The Hawkeyes have not only played a tougher schedule, but they also boast a higher average score, and that edge will carry them to victory. Pick Iowa minus 2 points. Washington has been officially baptized into the Big Ten grind, with all 3 of their conference games hitting low combined scores, 2 of 3 landing under the total. Sure, last week's game against Michigan barely nudged over the posted 40 with a combined score of 44, but this week is a different story. Washington is on the road in a tough, hostile Iowa environment, which will make it even harder for their offense to find its rhythm. Even though Iowa is putting up more points than usual this season, they'll be content to stick with the run game against Washington's excellent pass defense. The Hawkeyes' ability to control the clock and tempo will be crucial, and this one should look like a classic Big Ten slugfest, similar to Washington's low-scoring grind against Rutgers a couple of weeks ago. Bet under 42.5 points. Expect a physical, grinded-out game with both teams leaning on their defense and the run game. This one will be a battle in the trenches, and the scoreboard will reflect it. Miami, OH versus Eastern Michigan. Turnovers often determine the fate of a game, and when comparing Miami and Eastern Michigan, the turnover ratio paints a clear picture of how these teams stack up. Miami sits at a troubling -1 turnover ratio, while Eastern Michigan boasts a stellar +7. This stat alone highlights why the Redhawks are just 1-4 against the spread this season, while the Eagles are a perfect 5-0 ATS. The offensive gap is equally striking. Miami has struggled mightily, putting up just 13.6 points per game over their last 5, while Eastern Michigan's offense has been firing on all cylinders, averaging a scorching 41.7 points in their last 3 outings. The Eagles have momentum, sitting at 1-0 in the MAC and riding a 3-game win streak, looking to keep that perfect record alive. Pick Eastern Michigan Eagles minus 2.5 points. These defenses have held their ground, even with both teams having played overtime games recently. Miami has been allowing 26.3 points per game over their last 4, while Eastern Michigan has tightened up, surrendering just 22.3 points over their last 3. The quarterback play also tells a tale of disparity. Miami's offense ranks a dismal 123rd in college football with a quarterback rating of 110.1, while Eastern Michigan sits comfortably at 60th with a rating of 139.5. The under has been a trend for both teams. Miami has hit the under in 4 of their first 5 games, and Eastern Michigan has done so in 3 of 5. In fact, Miami has gone under in 9 of their last 10 games, showing a consistent struggle to reach higher totals.